So if you happen to be a gamer like myself and you enjoy some of the classic games, in Nintendo's catalog, your Donkey Kongs, your Marios, your Zeldas, stuff like that, then you probably heard this news about there being like a Zelda movie in the works, and you were probably just as excited about it as I was. And ever since the announcement was initially made, people have played with hypotheticals in their mind of like who would be good to play Link, who would be good to play Princess Zelda, et cetera, et cetera. All the various characters that are well known in the franchise. And one of the things that has come up a lot in regards to fans, who they think would be a good fit to play Princess Zelda, a lot of fans have actually suggested Hunter Schafer. And I think, honestly, Hunter Schafer is a good fit, and I'll show you why in a second, but let me go ahead and just read a brief snippet of this article. The Legend of Zelda movie is due out in 2027, which means we'll probably be getting news about casting and such soon. We haven't heard anything about who may play Link, the sword-wielding hero of the franchise, although we have our ideas. However, industry reporter and rumor monger Daniel Rickman recently reported that Euphoria star Hunter Schafer is being considered for the role of Princess Zelda. Fans started suggesting Schafer for the role of Zelda shortly after the movie was announced. So there isn't any official confirmation that she's going to play Princess Zelda just yet, but it's something that has been heavily suggested by fans and it's being considered. Now, if you ask me, just take a quick look at this image here. I think she is the perfect person to play the role. I mean, she literally has the look down to a T. Like, you could put this outfit and this headdress on her right here, and it's Princess Zelda. Like, it's the spitting image of Princess Zelda. I think it's a perfect casting, and not to mention that she's actually a very good actress as well. She's very talented, so she could definitely pull this off, I think. But of course, there's one problem. At least not for me. At least not for most people. But there's one problem for anti-woke freaks on the internet. If you're not familiar with Hunter Schafer, she's trans. So, of course, the anti-woke weirdos would make an issue of that. So I thought we'd take a look at some of the statements that are being made about this. We're going to take a look at this video by Geeks and Gamers. Live action Zelda DOA. Nintendo eyes trans actor for Princess Zelda. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at it. Let's see what these idiots have to say. Here we go.
We were surprised, Jay, when in the aftermath of the Super Mario Brothers movie had a ton of success at the box office, people thought, hey, maybe it's going to be a start of like a Nintendo cinematic animated universe, blah, blah, blah. Think of all the things they could do. That they went out and they announced.
I honestly am not surprised, or like I was very surprised. Maybe there was some anti-woke YouTuber who made a big deal about it, and I just didn't catch it. But you know how like in the Mario Brothers movie, they made like Princess Peach like the stereotypical strong, independent woman, which I don't have a problem with, obviously. But they made her a very strong, independent woman type. And I thought for sure the anti-woke people would be all over that shit. And surprisingly, nobody said a peep about it. At least not as far as I know. Maybe there was some one-off cases where some people did. I didn't see it, though, which was shocking to me. I thought they would be all over that. Because heaven forbid, a woman be strong and independent.
Announced a Zelda movie, but not an animated Zelda movie, a live action Zelda movie. It's actually set to come out in 2027. Well, people are getting a little worried. The people that may have been excited about that, about the idea of a Zelda movie, whether it's animated, live action, whatever it may be, people are starting to get a little worried because of who's rumored to be playing Zelda. Princess Zelda, female, because it's a man. Trans actor.
My God. The funniest thing about it is I've, been on Twitter and other social media platforms where there's a lot of Nintendo fans. I'm a Nintendo fan myself, right? I love a lot of their classic franchises, including The Legend of Zelda. I've seen a lot of hype around the possibility of Hunter Schafer playing Princess Zelda by Nintendo fans. And I've seen a lot of people, even before this rumor kind of came out, actually suggesting, hey, Hunter Schafer would be a great Princess Zelda. We highly recommend choosing them for Princess Zelda. There's been a lot of excitement around this. I haven't seen anybody be upset about this announcement other than freaks like these people. Like, nobody else gives a shit. You know what I find interesting about this too? Is that these are the same people who will go on about like, oh, what does it matter if a voice actress, that's white, does voice work for a black character or an Asian character or an Indian character or something like that? What does it matter if, a white person plays these people? Or they'll also, go in situations about how they're like upset that like, oh, why is a black man playing a white character in a movie? Like they play with these types of scenarios and they're very outspoken against them. Yet here we have a situation where like, there's a cisgender character being played by a trans woman, and suddenly that's a problem, right? And then they always go on about when it comes to the race stuff, like race swap stuff. Oh, well, this character is established as like a white character, so it has to be played by a white person that looks like the character. We have a white person here who looks like Princess Zelda, so what's the problem? I I don't understand. Why are you guys so up in arms about this? Like, she looks like Zelda, so this should be a perfect fit, right? But no, she's trans, so of course it's a problem.
Hunter Schafer, rumored for Princess Zelda. A big rumor hits the net. The trans actor Hunter Schafer's being eyed to play Princess Zelda in Nintendo's upcoming live-action Zelda movie.
If the core story is good, casting is secondary, differences be damned. Yeah, like I remember they made a big deal about obviously like the dark-skinned Little Mermaid. I didn't see the Little Mermaid live action movie. The few live action Disney movies I've seen haven't been that great, so I haven't been, actually jumping out of my seat to go see live action Disney movies. So I don't know, maybe that one was good, maybe it wasn't. But ultimately I didn't care that they chose someone who was like of a darker complexion to play the Little Mermaid. It's whatever. They also were up in arms when the Netflix Resident Evil series came out, something that's closer to my heart as a Resident Evil fan. You all know I'm a big fan of the Resident Evil franchise. Um, but they made Wesker, played by a black actor, and they were really mad about that. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. As long as they play the role well, then it doesn't really matter. Now, that show did suck, and the portrayal of Wesker sucked, but it didn't suck because it was a black man. It just sucked because it was a really bad show. Right? But of course, they were mad because he was black. But yeah.
Currently in development. The rumor comes via Scooper.
The reason they always have a reason with trans people, and it doesn't logically follow, is because they want trans people removed from the public life entirely. Yes, exactly. That is 100% the case. They also rejected the original actor that voiced Leon in the game for the film, saying he did not sound like him. I think that's a little bit different, though. He did have like a very different accent, obviously, from Leon. I still personally didn't give a shit. I thought that, considering the material they were given, they did okay enough with that role, so I was fine with it. But yeah, I think that that's a different kind of scenario. Just an FYI, geeks and gamers hated Peach's strong woman thing, but when people loved the Mario movie, they stopped saying things. Also, they did try to go with the woke, view of, Peach being a strong, independent woman. But they backed off when everybody loved the movie. I mean, which is typical, right? You'll often see, people like the Quartering and a lot of these people, the get woke, go broke is the common statement that a lot of them use. And then these movies like smash at the box office and do insanely well. And then you never hear them talk about it again. So yeah, on the rare occasion that they be right about something like, the Ghostbusters movie from 2016, they predicted that it was going to be a failure at the box office, and it was. Then all of a sudden they're like, yo, victory, we were right, woke movies suck. Meanwhile, it wasn't because the movie was woke that the female Ghostbusters movie failed. It was because it was just a bad movie. But hey, whatever they need to say to make themselves sleep well at night.
Daniel RPK, who recently dropped all those leaks for the Marvel Vision series coming to Disney Plus. We should put out there that Daniel RPK, I think half the stuff that he puts out is just straight up bullshit, and the other half is stuff that's other people have already reported previously. This Hunter Schafer as Zelda thing has been out there in the ether for like a year. Okay. Mostly from his big fan base, pronouns and bios people, whatever, because he got asked about it at some red carpet thing. Would you ever want to?
You like how what's funny to me is like, obviously, they have to do the forced like misgendering thing so they can stand on their principles, right? They want to make it seem like they're standing on their principles, right? But you see how it's even difficult for them to misgender Hunter Schafer, because like I think any normal person would look at Hunter Schafer and be like, that's a woman. Like, how crazy would you look in a public place? Let's say you go to like a fan meetup where Hunter Schafer's there, and you're like, haha, man, like you look like a crazy person referring to someone who looks like Hunter Schafer as a man, right? Yeah, like you look absolutely deranged. But I want to run that back real quick because look at how difficult it is for this idiot. Like he stumbles over his words trying to make sure he calls her a man.
Zelda thing has been out there in the ether for like a year. Okay. Mostly from his big fan base.
You see how there was like this hesitation there because he had to make sure he did the misgender. Got to make sure you sneak that one in there, right? You know, you don't accidentally refer to her the way she looks. You got to call her a man in their worldview. It's insane.
And bios people, whatever.
And they literally look crazy because this looks like a woman, like on every level, right? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Because he got asked about it at some red carpet thing. Would you ever want to play Zelda? He's like, oh, that'd be cool. I kind of look like an elf. And I played that game when I was growing up. So sure, I'd love that. And it's
an intentional act, not instinctual. Yeah, exactly. For the large majority of a lot of these people, it's a grift. I think the most disappointing thing that I've noticed over the course of like the past, year or two, as this kind of ideology has like, kind of spread a little bit further. What's been really disappointing to me, for those of you guys who don't know, I have a very long history on YouTube. I've been making YouTube content since 2006. And over the course of all those years, I've made several different types of content. I started out as like a retro reviews channel for doing retro game reviews. I started doing technology reviews and news at one point. Eventually, I shifted to more like gaming focused news. I dipped into drama content for a while, which not proud of, but it is what it is. And then more recently, I've done like progressive commentary sort of things, right? And over the years, I've met a lot of content creators that I've befriended, content creators that I thought were really cool people, especially in the gaming space. The majority of the people that I met throughout my extensive, I guess you can call this a career on YouTube, was when I was a gaming creator. And there were a lot of people they were really nice people that for one reason or another, their channels just never really took off. But they decided to do the anti-woke grift now. And suddenly they're getting tons of views. And the funniest thing about it, there's at least a couple of these people that I've spoken to privately, and they've shared some pretty woke views with me in private. But now they're going on about how like trans people in video games bad and gay people in video games bad and blah, 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 all this shit. And it's kind of like, I know what you are. I know who and what you really are. And now you're on this bullshit and you think people can't see through that shit? Come on, man. It's just embarrassing. But yeah, so many of these people are grifters. I don't know if that's necessarily the case with these geeks and gamers people. They seem really, far into it. Yeah, a lot of these people really are grifters for sure.
It's kind of been in the ether and out there ever since that moment, but this is one of the first times we're hearing it reported by somebody that this guy's being eyed. Hunter Schafer is known for HBO's Euphoria, Hunger Games, the Hunger Games prequel, by the way, with Rachel Zegler, and will be starting Amazon's Blade Runner 2099 series. The actor also recently revealed his newly issued U.S. passport lists him as a male.
Oh, okay. So, of course, they're reading from, like, some publication that's also transphobic shitheads like they are. What is this? Comicbook.news? Okay, so I know to always, like, avoid this publication when looking for news topics to cover for you guys, because fuck that shit.
Male, despite identifying and selecting female on the application, attributing the discrepancy to recent federal policy changes under the Trump administration that restrict gender markers on official documents to the sex assigned at birth. And yeah, he had a meltdown sometime last year that his passport says male. And yes, Hunter Schafer identifies as a female, identifies as a woman, but is a man, is a male. Jay, what do you think would happen if this casting comes to fruition? Let
me guess, they think it's going to be get woke, go broke. Even though I genuinely don't think, like, the shows that Hunter Schafer has appeared in so far have been really popular shows, and she's done insanely well as far as her performances in these shows, and her performances have been well received. I don't think that this would be an issue for the large majority of people. I feel like most people would watch this movie and enjoy it just fine. They wouldn't care. Hell, in all honesty, I think that most people would go and see this and probably not even know that she's trans. And if they found out, I don't think they would care. Again, not everybody is this brain broken, unhinged freak like these individuals. Most people don't care.
Man plays Zelda in this live action series.
I think they should go all in. And someone in the chat mentioned it. They should get Elliot Page, for Link. Let's just if you're gonna do this, just dive right into the deep end and just go full on at it, And I also think that YouTubers such as yourself and others would probably make way more money on this than the actual film, if that is true. I looked up.
I mean, so they're just like openly admitting this is like a grift for them. Like, yo, yeah, if you're gonna go woke, go like all in on the wokeness so we can make more money milking this shit for content. Like, they're so transparent with it. Oh my god.
They what he
I
they
believe Hunter
whatever.
Schafer goes by she, her.
Again, they're like struggling so hard to keep up with like the pronouns to misgender them. They're having such a hard time with it.
Pronouns, but is a man.
All right. I just went to see what he was in. Like,
wasn't there like a viral? I don't think I can show it because I remember the picture was like pretty revealing. I don't think it's. It would probably be fine to show it, but I'm not gonna risk it because Twitch can be kind of hit or miss from time to time. But like, wasn't there like a really like provocative photo of Hunter Schafer that went viral not too long ago, and they were twisting their self into a pretzel to call her a man, even though like she very clearly like is a woman. Her everything about her appearance is woman like. It's very feminine. She's very gifted in the area of her assets. I'll put it that way. Like, she is very clearly a woman, and it was just insane to watch them just go out of their way and bend over backwards to call her a man when she very clearly doesn't look like one. I can understand how it might be confusing if you're new to the sort of idea, but overthinking it is the number one way to get it twisted. Yeah, pretty much. Like, when I first started like actually making an effort to better understand this stuff, because again, like I've never been like bigoted towards trans people, but I didn't get it, right? But when I finally started to get it, the only thing that really tripped me up is like the whole like concept of like non-binary and stuff like that, which is really funny because I identify as non-binary myself now. So it's really funny that I had such a hard time understanding it in the beginning. But it's one of those things like as I became more familiar with it, I'm like, hey, a lot of that stuff kind of adds up with me. So I kind of like in a way discovered something about myself that I never really considered while educating myself on the topic. But yeah, initially like the concept of like non-binary was confusing to me. I'll openly admit something like what is it, neo pronouns or whatever can still be a little confusing at times. But even so, if I don't understand something, I'm not going to be a dick and like not respect somebody's chosen pronouns. If somebody tells me, hey, these are my pronouns, I'm going to respect them even if I don't understand it. But yeah, I don't think it's that hard to understand, hey, I identify as a woman, therefore refer to me as a woman. Like, it's not that difficult to be respectful to someone when they're saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what I am, just refer to me as what I am. Yeah. I think ultimately you just have to be a piece of shit and a garbage human to not want to respect someone in that way.
Euphoria with Sydney Sweeney.
So I have seen Euphoria, and I've seen Euphoria, and
it just says some asking and extending the olive branch. Some people can't do that though. Well, I will say this. I'll speak from the perspective of somebody who actually did want to educate themselves on the topic. And I want to say this, I want to preface this by saying I understand why the reaction is like this, because there are people who will sometimes hide under the veil of trying to be understanding, when in reality they just want to be transphobic dickheads. So I understand this reaction, but as somebody who was very much of the mindset at one time, I do want to understand this stuff. I do want to learn. I do want to educate myself. Let me ask some questions. There is a lot of pushback from the trans community in some cases. When somebody comes around asking questions, they automatically assume their intentions are malicious. And as a result of that, they tend to push those people away. And now, again, I understand why there's that initial reaction, because there are people who will pretend like they're trying to, oh, I just want to learn. And in reality, when they start to progress the conversation, they're just being transphobic pieces of shit. I totally understand that. But at the same time, I think that it would be better for the trans community to be more open to the idea of having those conversations, so that people can like learn when they want to learn and not feel like they're just being pushed away when they're trying to learn. And then obviously if somebody is very clearly being a bad actor, then you could push those people away. But I think this like instant, like, this instant reaction to just assume someone's being malicious, I think that does more harm for the trans movement than a lot of people realize. So I can speak from experience that is absolutely something I experienced. I would go around asking questions and people would automatically assume that I was being malicious in some way, when that clearly wasn't the case. But yeah.
And Hunter Schafer's character in there plays a pretty appropriate role. A male who is transgender, who identifies as a woman. That is their role in Euphoria. So, those roles.
Rambo First Blood says constantly explaining yourself is exhausting. That's where we allies can step in. Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that I've always kind of been frustrated about, like when it comes to like trans communities as well, is like when you have somebody, especially on social media, who's openly like trans, like the first inclination is to like force them to have to explain themselves constantly, force them to constantly justify their existence, and force them to become an advocate. And it's great, when you have like a trans person who's living that lifestyle and they choose to be an advocate for the rights of trans people. That's awesome, because who better to advocate for the rights of trans people than a trans person, right? But this notion that every openly trans person has to be an advocate, constantly justifying their existence and advocating for their own existence, like some people just want to live their lives and just live, a comfortable life. Not everybody wants to be an advocate. So I've always kind of like not liked that idea as well in like online trans spaces, where it's often perceived that every person who's openly trans has to advocate for trans rights. Like, no, I don't think that that's the case. I think some people can be just fine, just living their lives and being comfortable with who they are. And the people who want to be advocates, they can be advocates. But this expectation that every trans person has to do that, I don't think that's reasonable. But anyway, that's a different conversation.
Roles are out there. Makes sense to, I suppose, if that's what you're going to tell a story about, then it makes sense to cast that person for the role.
Yeah, Euphoria is definitely for the Sydney Sweeney fans. What
the fuck does that?
And then
what the fuck does that even mean? Does anybody in chat understand what that means? I'm so confused. A male plays a woman in Euphoria. I'm sorry, but where's the male? I just see a gorgeous woman. Yeah, like, I mean, let's be real, okay? I'm not going full gooner here, okay? Because I'm trying to be somewhat respectful, but let's be honest. She's pretty fucking hot, okay? Let's just be real.
Hunger Games, which I didn't see, with Rachel Zegler, of course. They probably best friends. And Cuckoo. I never even heard
like
that.
I seen that picture that was floating around going viral that I mentioned earlier. The picture that I'm kind of uncomfortable showing because there's a lot of boobage going on. So I don't know how Twitch would feel about that. But I seen the picture and yeah, she's smoking hot, okay?
Heard that. So
that's what makes it even more insane that they would, like, with a straight face, call this a man. Because it's just like, no, she's very clearly a woman. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What kind of crack are you smoking?
That's it. I didn't even know this person existed. So until these rumors started happening.
But that doesn't make your argument any better, my guy. Like, so you didn't even know this person existed and now you're outraged about their existence? Like, that's insanity. How am I supposed to believe that you care about this shit if you're like, well, I didn't even know about them, so like, hear me talk about my position on this issue and why you should care about what I have to say? Like, what?
But the sad thing, I'm telling you, man, ever since the Black Snape thing, it's like, it's hard not to look at some of these rumors where people go, that's nonsense, it'll never happen, and just think in the back of your mind that it so you're telling me there's a chance, because I never
it's just so funny to me because like they'll they'll twist themselves in knots about how like, oh, this is bad because in this case they might say something along the lines of, this is bad because, Zelda is, a cisgender. They wouldn't use the term cisgender. They would use the term biological. Zelda is a biological woman. Therefore, she needs to be played by a biological woman. Or, he mentioned, the black Snape right there. Snape is a white man, so it has to be played by a white man. It can't be played by a black man. That's their sort of like half mask on, half mask off version of, I'm just racist, so heaven forbid a black man play this character, or I'm just transphobic, so heaven forbid a trans woman play this role. Like, that's what they really mean, but they know that it would violate TOS to go that far, so they can't say that. They have to use little weasel words and weasel phrases to kind of get around it.
I thought when that rumor came out about Snape, it's just like, even though I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, it's just like,
I mean, let's be real. It's not even just a TOS thing for them. They know that it would go too far and it would alienate, potentially some people in their audience that are at least partially normie to go that far. And therefore they won't go that far.
There's no way. There's no way. Like, that's not going to happen. They can't be that dumb. And sure enough, here we are. But I think,
oh my God, true. Zelda is a Hylian, so why isn't a Hylian playing her? Oh my God.
I think if they're going to do this, they just need to go all in and just mess up the whole film. Why not? Why not?
It would just mess up the whole film to do what they perceive to be woke. Just completely ruin the movie. Never mind the fact that so many movies and so many video games and so many of these, media properties that they claimed were going to go bankrupt and they were going to underperform because woke. Never mind the fact that so many of them have done just fine. And in many cases completely outperformed their predictions for these movies, but they'll never acknowledge that. They'll celebrate the few one-offs where they were right, but it's not because of the reasons they gave. It's just because it was a bad movie or it was a bad video game or, whatever the case may be. But they'll claim, oh, we said it was woke and it was going to fail, but it failed, so we were right. And it's just like, no, you weren't. You're just a fucking idiot.
Starring Elliot Page and Hunter Schafer.
You know what's funny? Like, underneath that, some of those main posts on X is...
Can you imagine if they did that? They cast like Elliot Page as like Link just to piss these kind of like freaking weirdos off. I'm sorry, that would be really funny.
A lot of people don't know that this person is a man. And like, you could read some of their like...
Because those people are normal. Those people are fucking normal and they don't care. Not everybody obsesses about, what gender someone might be, or not everybody obsesses about what genitals they have in their fucking pants. Normal people don't do this stuff. This is just a you thing because you're a fucking freak.
Like, wait, what? That's a man? It's like those type of comments. Like, wait a minute, what?
Normal people don't think this way. That's why they don't know, because it doesn't fucking matter.
Wait, that's a man? So they didn't even know who this person is. Yeah, put Pedro Pascal in it. Let's just put him in it.
Pedro Pascal as Link.
It
would be totally fine with kissing a trans person.
I'm sure. We'll make it the gayest Nintendo movie ever.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude, like...
The funny thing is, like, they just seem so checked out for this particular topic. Like, they can't even make me believe that they buy their own shit. Like, don't they just seem like they're phoning this one in? Or is it just me?
What are we fucking doing?
I don't know.
Princess Zelda.
I don't know. Maybe they'll get away with it in saying, well, technically it's an elf, so there's not really a gender. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like how they would spin this to be like, you guys are just upset.
I mean, they won't try to spin it as hard as you guys are trying to. Like, what?
Or they might even say, look, we hired the best actor for the role.
Maybe it's gonna be Zendaya, and this is all a ploy for people to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't have a man play Zelda. And they're like, oh, actually, it's going to be played by Zendaya. And then people are like, well, at least that's better than a man. Maybe that's the whole goal. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, people are correcting me in the chat. They're like, they're not elves. All right, my bad. I was trying to like,
Bro, see, this is you know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of? Uh I forget what IP it was. It's some very popular like nerdy IP where Jeremy from the Courting was doing some get woke go broke segment on it. And like apparently like Jeremy was so out of the loop on the lore of this franchise that he was getting like the details wrong. So like even his own audience was calling him out like, bruh, clearly you don't actually give a fuck about this shit because you don't even know the lore for this franchise. So why are you trying to convince us you care when you clearly don't know what the fuck you're talking about? Like, this is an example of that. Their own audience had to correct them. They're not elves, they're Hylians. Like, fucking idiot.
figure out how they would spin it. My bad. Sorry about that, Chad.
It's okay.
Yeah, we'll get Rachel Zegler. We'll get the he, she. We'll get the Pedro Pascal. Get Elliot Page. That sounds like an all-star lineup to me that will do great things at the box office. Sarcastic, of course.
The funny thing is, like, I'm pretty sure, you know, if the Mario movie is any indicator of the potential for this film, this movie's going to do gangbusters. And again, like, here we are, we're seeing them predict that this movie's going to do poorly. And, like, if this movie does well, then they'll pretend like they never said that. They'll never acknowledge it again. But if this movie does poorly, then yes, it was a win. We were right. Like, it's just insanity like that.
And Zendaya, you know, she could just, I don't know. They're not an elf. I got it. Thank you for
They are not elf.
I love that
Yeah,
the end
sorry.
of their video was just them getting corrected by their audience because they're fucking stupid. Oh my god, it's so funny. But yeah, this is the latest outrage by, you know, the anti-woke like morons on the internet is like, oh my god, a trans woman, which keep in mind, they're mad about this and this hasn't even been confirmed yet. As far as I'm aware, it hasn't been confirmed yet. This is just a rumor that's come out that, you know, hey, fans want this person to play Zelda and Nintendo's actually considering it. But it hasn't been confirmed and they're already big mad about this thing that hasn't even been confirmed to be a thing yet. It's really funny. It's really fucking funny.